Hey guys, LC Holt here, and this is my update for the week of January the 28th. Today, we are going to be talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. Mainly, we're going to be talking about mythic creatures and the people who claim to have seen them, even caught them on film. All right, so it's going to be kind of interesting. Meeting me on the show here today with me is Zach Myers. Zach, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. How's it feel meeting me? Apparently, I think we're just meeting for the first time.
Well, you're kind of a mythic creature, so it works out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of fitting that the first mythic creature we're going to be talking about this week is probably one of the most famous. We're going to be talking first about Bigfoot. Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
I tell you, all kinds of people think that they saw this damn Bigfoot creature.
I thought I saw Bigfoot the other day, but it was just a really big, hairy guy, and I was wrong.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of those going around too. Have there been? I mean, you're out in Arizona near the desert. Do they have a Bigfoot-like creature in Arizona? Because mostly you hear about Bigfoot, it's in the Pacific Northwest, out in the woods and stuff.
We actually do have. It's not called Bigfoot, actually, and I can't even remember what the freak it's called. But we have something up in northern Arizona, closer to Flagstaff, Arizona, and it's kind of closer, on the border of Colorado and stuff. People claim that it goes back and forth, but it's the same image that everybody kind of describes that Bigfoot kind of is. But more of where I'm in, it's kind of hard for Bigfoot to hide behind, cacti and stuff. So I guess we don't see him as much here, but I guess in northern Arizona, we supposedly have something, but I'm going to call bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's see if I'm gonna describe a very famous case of a Bigfoot being caught on film, and we'll see if we can call that bullshit or what we can call it. Okay. This is a very popular piece of footage. And it was taken October 20th, 1967 in Northern California. It's called the Patterson-Gimlin footage, or the Patterson-Gimlin film, okay? It was taken by two guys, Roger Patterson, who died of cancer in 1972, so he's not around anymore. But his partner in this expedition is a guy named Bob Gimlin, and he is still around. He does like Bigfoot conventions and stuff.
Wait, there's Bigfoot conventions?
Yeah, oh yeah, there are Bigfoot conventions.
Oh man, yeah. It's an out.
Yeah, it's like Bigfoot, UFOs, they all have conventions, But so anyway, back to October 20th, 1967. These two guys are up just outside a town called Orleans, California. And there's a place out there, there's a little river there, okay? It's called Bluff Creek. And there have been a lot of sightings, or so they say, of Bigfoot in the area, including footprints and stuff like that. Because, Bigfoot leaves his footprints everywhere. And there have been a lot of footprints up there. So they decided, these two guys, Patterson and Gimlin, that they're going to go up there and see if they can't capture this hairy bastard on film. So they go up to Bluff Creek. And they're riding along the creek. And they come to this uprooted tree that's fallen over. And as they go around the tree, the uprooted tree with the roots sticking up, they see a hairy, large creature kneeling by the creek. They're both on horseback, okay? So Patterson, he jumps, the horse kind of rears, because the horse, I guess, is freaked out too. Patterson jumps down off of his horse, grabs his 16mm camera, which he had on loan from, I think, like a camera store. He was actually arrested because he had this camera longer than he was supposed to be. So they issued a warrant for his arrest. Okay, but that's sort of its own thing. But anyway, so he runs toward this creature, which is kind of lumbering away. The creature sees them and he's thinking, "Oh God, what are these people? That fucking horse is rearing. I'm getting out of here." So he starts to head off toward the woods. Patterson kind of chases him down, and he yells over to Gimlin. He says, "Hey, Gimlin, cover me." because Gimlin's got a rifle, so he's got this thing, but he stays on horseback. He doesn't point the rifle at the creature, but Patterson points the camera at the creature, which is walking away, and they manage to capture footage, a few seconds, about a little less than a minute of footage of this thing walking away. Now, I have a famous image from that footage because at one point, as the creature's walking away, it stops and turns back as if to say, what the fuck are you guys doing back there? And you want to see this famous image?
Yes, I want to see Bigfoot post.
Yeah, there he is. That's the famous image of Bigfoot stopping, turning, looking back at these people and going, what the hell are you doing? I don't like my picture taken. Right? And after he does this, or she, because obviously if you can kind of tell there, this Bigfoot has breasts. But after he or she turns and gives the camera this mean mug, continues to walk off into the woods.
Yeah, that's for sure a mean mug.
Yeah. So there's the famous image. Now, there have been, and according to them, Gimlin, who was still on horseback, kind of rode to see if he could keep track of this thing as it walked off into the woods. He lost sight of it, and then he realized, hey, my buddy's back there with without any weapons, just with the 16mm camera that he sort of stole. And so I better go back and see, because there may be more. He may be being ripped apart, like in some horror movie back there.
He may have a posse around the corner.
Say that again?
He may have a posse around the corner, and we don't know what he's plotting.
Right, exactly. You just never know with these big feet. Bigfoots. What is it?
Bigfoots?
I don't know. Is Bigfoot its own plural? A group of Bigfoot?
I know. I think the fans should probably, if anybody knows the plural for Bigfoot, then just put that in there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were a lot of descriptions that Patterson and Gimlin gave of the creature. Like originally, Patterson said it was 6.5 to 7 feet tall. And then later he said it was like 7.5 feet tall. So it kept growing in Patterson's imagination. Gimlin said it was about 6 feet even. So there's a lot of discrepancy there between 6 foot, 6.5, 7.5, but it was big. Now they showed this footage I tried to show this footage to scientists, and a lot of scientists just totally dismissed the whole thing, wouldn't even look at the footage because, a lot of people have caught things, like this. They got some of those plaster print impressions that were in the area, apparently made by this creature, which that in and of itself isn't proof of very much because you could easily kind of fake that. There have been a lot of people that came around. There was a guy named Bob Hieronymus who said that he was the guy in the suit at one point. Then there was this costumer named Philip Morris, no relation to the cigarettes, and he said that he made the suit. So, a lot of people have called bullshit. Gimlin, like I say, still goes to these Bigfoot conventions and still holds true that the story, that this actually happened. And until he died from cancer, Patterson also stuck to the story that was what happened that day in October 1967. But I don't know. What do you think about it, Zach? About that and just about these Bigfoot sightings in general?
Well, that could very well be bullshit, the photo, but I do believe that Bigfoot could be real, or Big Feet, whatever the plural for that is. But it could be. I'm not going to fully dismiss that it's bullshit. But it's, I do think that of all this time, we're in 2019. Nobody's actually gotten a full, clear picture of Bigfoot, or there's just, I don't know, maybe every time someone sees the guy just rips him apart or something. I don't know. But I'm going to say it could be real. I'm not going to dismiss it. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story that my dad told me when he was younger. My family is from Alabama, and there's a lot of woods in Alabama. And he said that when he was younger, him and some buddies were in a truck and they were driving down this dirt road in the country. It came to a Y in the road, and he said they turned to go, you could go left or right, and they turned to go either right or left. And as they did, standing in the Y, the headlights went across this small figure, which he said was about 4 feet, maybe 3.5 feet tall, covered in hair. He said he remembered the arms being hanging long, like the hands almost touched the ankles, long arms. And they all kept going, and then they stopped the truck, and they were like, "Hey, did you just see that? And did you just see that?" And that kind of thing. And then they backed the truck up back to the Y, and there was nothing there. And he swears that what he saw was not like, Peter Dinklage's dad, but was, like a real creature of some kind. So maybe Alabama has a Bigfoot, big feet, Bigfootses. Who knows?
Bigfootses. Oh man, that could be, man, because in the wooded areas, that's primarily where he's seen. That's creepy, man. I don't even know what I would do if I ran across a Bigfoot.
Well, up in the Pacific Northwest, which is where they have a lot of these sightings, most of that area up there, well, not most, but a lot of that area up there is, uncharted wilderness. So I guess theoretically there could be something up there. There could be a Bigfoot up there in hiding. As is the case with most of this kind of stuff, I'll believe it when you bring me like a Bigfoot body that's legit. At some point there would have to be some sort of body, or I don't know, but I'll believe it when I see it. But
I think you'd find one dead eventually. Like, don't they die?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they buried their dead. I don't know, but you would have found something. Say again?
That'd be bitching.
Yeah.
Like having funerals, like, Bigfoot funerals and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of an elephant graveyard. It's a Bigfoot graveyard. But even then, you would find a bone or a skull or something. So when you give me like some good evidence, I'll say, okay. Other than that, I think the Patterson-Gimlin film is maybe a little bit on the, sketchy side. But it's famous. It's really cool to watch. Down in the YouTube description of this, I'll put a link of how you can go watch it. And, tell me what you think about it. But anyway, so that's the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot story. What do you have for us, Zach? Do you have a mythic creature?
Yes, I do. This one is, I'm excited what everyone thinks of this one right here. This one is fairies. Now, a lot of people think fairies, it's bullshit. But I'm also not here to sell the fact that fairies are real. So I'll let you be the judge of that. But my first case is a fossil of a fairy, supposedly, was found in Australia. Okay. I don't know exactly what part of Australia, couldn't really find it, which could be one clue that it could be bullshit. I'm not entirely sure on it. But it was found in like southern Australia, and experts, which I'm not sure, is there like fairy experts or scientists? I'm not sure who did this, but said that it was a fossil of what they call a Australian leaf fairy.
Yes, and they have a picture of this thing.
Let's see it.
All right, here we go. Okay, so that is what they say is a leaf fairy fossil?
Yes, and it's a lot smaller than it looks, apparently in real life. As you can see, it's the skeleton of a human, but you can kind of make out where wings were. Mm-hmm. And they apparently they called it a leaf fairy because their wings resemble leaves, so they can blend in with stuff around them, so they weren't harmed. And yeah. Well,
that's really that's an interesting thing. And okay, so go ahead.
Within about a mile or two away from the cave that they found the fossil at, they actually supposedly found a real body of what they call an Australian leaf fairy. And they're claiming that this is authentic, that this is not fake. I'm sure if it was real, I'm sure it would be worldwide. I'm sure it'd be all over every single news channel everywhere. But I mean, again, this is up to you. They could be keeping this kind of a secret. It was leaked. But yeah, it's kind of creepy.
All right. Well, let's take a look at that second, the body that
Let's look
they
at the
found.
body. That doesn't look
Well,
like Tinkerbell to me.
well, I mean, that's one of those things where it kind of almost looks like it was something that was sculpted out of clay. I don't know, with some leaves stuck on the back of it.
All fairies are made of clay. You didn't know that?
I guess not. Wow. Well, that's interesting.
So I would love to hear your take on the fairies.
Okay. You know, when I think of fairy, I think of Suki. No, I don't know. It's just kind of a strange. I'll tell you the first thing that comes to mind. Do you remember that case of those two little girls? And I don't know if it was the early 1900s, the 20s, or something like that. And it was two little girls, and they took pictures of them standing next to fairies in their garden, and they're like, "Oh, look at this fairy!" And it's a fairy, you know, above their hand, with smiling, like kind of like Tinkerbell. And then
Yes.
later, it come to find out, it was just, you know, cutouts from a book hung from strings from the garden foliage, and you know, they were just pretending like they were interacting with it. That's the first and most famous story of fairies that comes to mind.
What's funny about that particular story is if you actually can find, and you can Google search the images and stuff, they look like paper cutouts. They don't look that legit. But one of those girls on her deathbed, I actually claimed that one of those photos of a fairy is actually real. And I'm thinking, okay, you have like 10 pictures that are bullshit, and you're trying to let us believe that one of them was real. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem when you're saying that 5 are fake but 1 is real. Well, how do we know? Because your intention was already to fake us. So where did the real one come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, say again?
Do you believe in fairies?
No. I mean, I wonder what what is the point of a fairy? Like, do they grant wishes, or do they just flitter around? Is there some sort of mythological point to a fairy?
Hell if I know. I mean, I guess they're just maybe they're like back in the day, or like in the the land of magic or whatever. Maybe they're like the gnats of their like kingdom. They just get swatted by everything. They just kind of piss everybody off. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's some pretty good kind of phony videos, modern stuff where it's computer graphic type stuff that I've seen that looks really cool. But that's the thing about modern stuff, is you pretty much have to throw it all out the window, because anybody with a home computer can create something that looks great. I mean, I saw a thing that was clearly fake. I mean, they weren't trying to pass it off as real, of a UFO flying over these trees. And the camera was shaky, and there was a lot to do it as CGI. You would have taken a lot of tracking and stuff, and it just looks beautiful. I mean, it looks totally real. So it's just a good example of how you can fake anything nowadays with very simple computer tools.
Well, it's funny. Most of the videos on YouTube, anyone watching can go onto YouTube and type in "fairies caught on tape," and most of them look like bugs. I'm not even gonna lie. Some of them the ones that look almost a little too real sometimes are bullshit. But all the rest of them look like dragonflies, June bugs, moths, fireflies. So it's kind of hard to. But there was another case in Scotland. A photographer from Wales, again, could not find this man's name. So
I mean, that's always kind of sketchy unto itself when you can't find the name.
Exactly, and when you can't find an exact place of where it happened, or a name, that's a little iffy. Because I would feel like if I caught fairies on an actual fairy on tape, I'd be bragging to everybody, like, you got a fairy on tape? Screw you, I got a fairy on tape. But I mean, I wouldn't keep it a secret. But I mean, he apparently was out taking pictures of nature. He's a photographer, and was taking pictures of some flowers with some insects flying around it, because apparently people like to look at flying insects near plants. I I guess that's art.
And take pictures of them just in case a fairy might pop up in there.
And I guess supposedly when he zoomed in on the insects, they had little. They look like little people with wings, and yeah, I don't know fully if I buy that one. I will buy the Australian leaf fairy over the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anytime that's like an unnamed guy who says, I just decided to take pictures of bugs and they turned out to be fairies, it's just an odd thing because it's like, why are you taking pictures of bugs to begin with, dude? But let's say,
life, dude.
yeah, I mean, there's far more interesting. Take a picture of a fucking flower or something. But we'll show the audience the picture that this guy took, okay?
Let's do it.
Over there on the right side of the screen is apparently a zoomed in image of one of these things, and it has legs and arms and wings. I don't know, on the left over there, when I look at that, they do just kind of look like insects. You know, I mean, yeah, you can see the kind of things that look like legs, but that could just be the legs of the insects, you know.
See, this is the problem. Like when you really want to see something, it's gonna, your brain is gonna just make you think it is. And this guy was in fairy mode, and I think that he was so convinced that these were fairies.
Yeah, he was just full on fairy mode. He was like, I'm catching some fairies tonight, damn it.
He had his butterfly net. He was out looking for fairies.
Yeah, I mean, the fairy thing, I'm not, you know, that was the hard one to buy. Bigfoot is hard to buy. But fairies are just sort of, I don't know, it's so weird. It's weird. As if, you know.
You're doing this show, I had to pick something that was, you know, obviously mythical. And I wanted to pick something that wasn't, you know, unicorns, and I feel like other crap is just harder to say bullshit. But I feel like fairies are brought up enough, and fairies get a bad rap. So I thought maybe we should talk about them and, you know, clear their name.
Yeah. Well, we've given fairies their day in court.
Well, you got something else, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do. This is another fairly famous thing. You ever heard of a little place in the Highlands of Scotland called Loch Ness?
Oh, yes.
All right, well, we're in Loch Ness, which loch, you know, over there just means lake. Over in Lake Ness, there is a creature that they like to call Nessie, which they like to give these things very cutesy kind of names because the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot is named Patty. So Patty and Nessie. So anyway, over in Loch Ness, I mean, these stories go back to like 500 AD that there is something going on in that lake or in the surrounding areas. Okay, so this is mythological. I would say this is mythological in so much as it goes back that far. Anyway, Loch Ness is it's a freshwater lake. And it goes forever. Like, it goes down a long way. So if you wanted to say there was a mythic creature living in it, you could probably get away with that without too much trouble, because there's really no way to go all the way down there or to search it in any sort of like a thorough way. It could in other words, the creature could always be hiding somewhere else that you're not, you know, looking.
Yeah.
Well, okay, in 1934, there was a famous case where a gynecologist from London, a guy named Robert Kenneth Wilson, allegedly took a photograph of Nessie sticking her big old head up out of the Loch Ness. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you the photograph he took.
Okay, let's see it.
Yeah, there's Nessie sticking her head up out of Loch Ness. Okay, now this photo is it's unlike the Patterson-Gimlin footage in so much as this has actually been proven a hoax.
Yeah.
Okay. So he took 4 photos, he said. 2 turned out. This is the one that turned out that wasn't blurry. Now, the hoax was actually committed by 3 people. A guy that worked for the Daily Mail, his son-in-law, who was a sculptor, and then an insurance agent or whatever, you know, an insurance guy. And what happened was this guy that worked at the Daily Mail had said that he had found at Loch Ness Nessie's footprints, because, you know, now they all leave footprints. Nessie, Patty, they all. And he said that he found Nessie's footprints, okay? And they proved that a hoax, so he was pissed. So to get back at them, he was going to prove that Nessie really existed. So his son-in-law, who, as I said before, was a sculptor, built the head and the shoulders or the head and the neck, the elongated neck that I showed you there in that picture, and they attached it to a toy submarine. And it was piloted by this insurance guy. So, you know, we all know you can trust insurance people, right? And so they piloted this little Nessie submarine around and took some pictures of it. And that's where you get that picture. Now, apparently, the reason why they could never find evidence is because the fellow who worked for the Daily Mail saw a boat of police coming, or people that patrol the lake, and he put his foot on the top of this thing and pushed it down until it sank. So Loch Ness, so Nessie is still in the bottom of Loch Ness, that version of Nessie. Okay. There have been a lot of other films and TV documentaries, and I remember seeing one where they went out on a boat with a sonar and they found, you know, pings off of something that was following their boat underneath Loch Ness, and a lot of stuff like that. But a reality show or a docudrama or whatever, you can trust that about as far as you can throw it. And since it's on DVD, you could probably throw it pretty far, but still don't trust it. So anyway, that picture is a really famous picture. Like I said, it's been around a long time, since 1934, but it has been proven a hoax. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're all hoaxes and that there's not something in Loch Ness. There's actually a really interesting story about Loch Ness. There's a house right there on the shore of it that, you know, Aleister Crowley?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he was the wickedest man in the world, or so they said. And he lived actually in this house for a period of time in the early 1900s. And he was known to have done this ritual inside the house that took like 6 months of preparation, and you had to fast and not drink, which I'm sure was difficult for him. And the whole point of this thing was to, this invocation was to summon your guardian angel at the end. But in order to do that, according to the ritual, you had to call on 12 princes and dukes of hell. And you had to sit in this darkened house, and you had to call forth all these evil entities, so that your guardian angel ultimately would come and bind them and cast them out and save you. And then you would see your guardian angel because he saved you from the dukes and princes of hell. Okay, so that's the
fucking gnarly, dude.
So that was Aleister Crowley. He had possessed me there for a second, but I promise I'm not going to rape anybody in the desert. Right? Anyway, yeah, because I hear tell he liked to do that next to raging fires. But anyway, he lived there and he did that, but he was called to Paris before he finished the invocation. So, do you know what that means? The demons were never banished.
Dun, dun, dun.
And some people say that these demons, one of them got loose in Loch Ness. And that's what's in the lake today. The loch today.
I never knew demons looked like dinosaurs.
Well, yeah, some people think it's a dinosaur. I kind of like the Aleister Crowley story, which is why I put so much fervor into telling that story. Because, you know, I like to think that he summoned a demon and it slithered out the window and went down. Oh, and a lot of famous people have lived in this house, and they say it's haunted by those demons that Aleister Crowley failed to banish, the half-assing son of a bitch. Call on demons and you don't banish them. Yeah, what kind of guy are you? There are future tenants that don't want to be killed by your demons, Aleister. But anyway, I don't think really that Aleister Crowley's demons are loose in Loch Ness, but it's a fun story. Most Aleister Crowley stories are fun stories because it's so fucking crazy. But anyway, so Loch Ness. Do you think there's a dinosaur or an Aleister Crowley lizard loose in Loch Ness, Zach?
Aleister Crowley lizard. That's awesome. No. I'm not even gonna be a little optimistic on this one. No. I am not a believer of Loch Ness monster. I don't think there's anything down there, but maybe pollution. And I don't think every photo and every case I hear, I just roll my eyes and I laugh because it's like I believe in unicorns faster than I believe in the Loch Ness monster.
Wow. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I'll have to see it to believe it.
That's true.
It's sort of like,
I'll shut up.
What's that?
If I see a Loch Ness monster, I'll shut up.
Right. And even beyond the Loch Ness thing, you have to have more than a picture. I need to see like a creature washed up on a shore somewhere, which
Seriously.
We're about to talk about something like that, where a creature washed up on a shore somewhere. But yeah, I would need that for Loch Ness. Like I say, I need to have drag Patty's bones out of those woods and slap them down on a morgue table in front of me, hair and all, and show me this Bigfoot, okay? Show me that fucking Bigfoot.
Show me that damn Bigfoot.
Show me that fucking Bigfoot and I'll believe in it, all right? All right? But the fairies, I mean, I don't know. That's going to be a tough sell for me. I know you like the fairies, but to me, that's probably going to be the toughest sell so far.
You make me sound crazy. I know you like the fairies, but Zach's a nutcase.
No, not at all.
Just a little bit.
Well, let's put it this way: you're not as crazy as Aleister Crazy Crowley.
That's true. He makes me look sane.
Yeah, I mean, Aleister Crowley makes a lot of people look sane.
He makes Charles Manson look sane.
Yeah, I love the story where he would him and one of his girlfriends or child brides or whatever it was, he was after that week. He took her into the pyramids late at night, and they went in there, and he summoned up some sort of. This was one of the many times he tried to summon a demon or some sort of deity. And he went into this thing, and in the darkness of the pyramid, of the inner chamber of the pyramid, he did an invocation, which he seemed to have a lot of those, and brought forth this beast that whispered in his ear and transcribed an entire book to him and followed him for the rest of his life. And but Aleister did a lot of opium too, and that tends to make you see demons and hear voices of deities from other planes of existence. So.
I'm sure that doesn't explain anything.
No, not at all. Aleister's totally straight. Well, he's certainly not straight, but he was totally sober. Anyway, what's our next? You know how I was talking about creatures washing up on shorelines? Hey, I want to show you a picture of a creature that washed up on a shoreline. You want to see it, Zach?
Yeah. Okay, now this, for all those that watching that don't know, was dubbed the Montauk Monster. Okay, the Montauk Monster was found in Montauk, New York, on the shore. Nobody could figure out what it was. It didn't resemble any animal that anybody can figure out. They even had a couple zoologists come, and they couldn't figure out what the hell it was. And so that started up a huge investigation. Everyone had to figure out where this damn thing came from.
Right. Yeah, that's quite a butte there. And so what happened from that?
Okay, well, people have discovered that right up the coast is an island called Plum Island.
Plum Island. Do they grow plums there?
What's that?
Do they grow plums there?
That's a good question. You might turn into like, the Toxic Avenger if you eat one. Because I mean, I'm not really sure. Because I mean, that's kind of like, I don't trust anything on that damn island. But if people started doing investigations. Now, let me give you everyone a little history of Plum Island. Okay. Back before let's say the 1800s, it was all owned by a farming family. And in 1951, they sold the land to the government, which is usually not ever a good idea.
That's mistake number one.
Yeah, that's the first fuck up. Then the government just turned it into a research facility, so they can study, all kinds of. They're kind of weird about what they won't really fully describe what they research there, but it's mainly just trying to make terms of like, the farming stuff, and I don't know. It doesn't make any fucking sense, honestly. But one of the guys that ran Plum Island, one of the lead guys, was actually part of the Nazi Party. Fuck up number 2.
Yeah, that would be a big fuck up.
So he was part of this. So it's bad crap is going down. So people instantly started thinking that Plum Island is doing animal testing, and they could be. And when it kind of died down a little bit, a body was discovered, but the body was not discovered in Montauk or anywhere else. It was discovered on the coastline of Plum Island.
Ah. And is that a different body than what we just showed the audience?
This is actually a human body.
Okay, well, that's not good.
Yeah, this ups it a lot. So this was a human body, but the weird thing was, it was reported that the human being had elongated fingers, a really strange color to their skin, and damages to the head that would result in brain surgery. So everybody started thinking, okay, they're not doing animal testing anymore. They've moved on up to human testing.
I see.
And obviously if that's the case, though, what a bunch of lazy bastards. That's where they dump the body. They're just like, let's dump on the beach. Like, just throw them out there, lazy ass Plum Island.
Right. And they did rule the Gambino crime family out of any involvement in this, right?
I'm not even going to dismiss it. It could be.
Because anytime a body washes up near Long Island, you always have to wonder.
It could be that or Plum Island. And the crazy thing about it was, right about 2 miles from Plum Island is Queens, New York. And that's where the first outbreak of West Nile virus happened. And then apparently that same guy that I told you that was in the Nazi Party that was in charge of Plum Island was working on a airborne toxic that was West Nile virus. So people, speculate that Plum Island set it off in Queens, New York, which actually killed a lot of people, which is, really sad. And so that's not good. Well, since a lot of stuff in the news has been going off, they laid low for a long time. Well, just within about a year ago, Plum Island was sold to an undisclosed person. Nobody knows who bought it. Nobody knows what they're going to do with it. But Plum Island is officially sold from the government.
Wow. Well, that's a hell of a story. I wonder if Jesse Ventura has jumped on this yet. I think he did do a show about this on one of his conspiracy shows about Plum Island.
I want to buy Plum Island. Why can't I buy it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Keep all like the weird, creepy monsters that they made. Like, can I just keep them as pets?
You would have to have the money of the Gambino crime family or Aleister Crowley, I think, to buy Plum Island.
And they don't let me have like a small little part of the island, like literally like 5 feet. Like, that's yours. Can't leave your 5 feet.
Yeah, it sounds like the play. Wasn't that where they were trying to send Hannibal Lecter? Plum Island.
Plum Island.
Yeah, we should. That maybe that creature was Hannibal Lecter's last victim, the guy that washed up.
No shit, huh?
Well, that's interesting. So there is actually a creature that washed up. There's a picture of it, and I'm sure that they have that creature somewhere. It was very unusual looking creature. I don't know what that would have been.
They actually, somebody apparently it's funny how they ask all these different zoologists, and all these people are saying, I'm not sure what it is. It could be animal tested of some kind, something like maybe two animals morphed together. I don't know, it could be just a creature. It only took one zoologist to say, yeah, it's a rotted raccoon, which, if you look at the photo, I mean, it's a big raccoon. I mean, that's all I gotta say. And nobody else asked any more questions. And it's like, I mean, I'm not gonna sit there and say it's a monster. I mean, I don't know what it is. That doesn't look like no freaking raccoon.
I'm willing to bet you that is not a raccoon based on that picture. That is the biggest fucking raccoon I've ever seen.
Dude, I will run if that thing's in my trash can.
I mean, it looks more like some sort of a hog creature or some sort of I don't know.
I mean, that could just be Joe Pesci, washed up on the beach for all we know.
Joe Pesci could have killed that guy that washed up on the beach. That's what I'm willing to bet. I think the case is solved there. That the guy with the brain surgery, that was just Joe Pesci.
That was Joe Pesci that did that.
Yeah. Joe Pesci's responsible. Because he's retired now. He's got to have things to do. So,
man's got to have a hobby.
Yeah, and the creature that washed up, Joe Pesci's kid.
It kind of looks like it.
Yeah, it does kind of look like Joe Pesci just a little bit, just with a beak.
Just a slimy, beaked, naked Joe Pesci.
Yeah, that's an interesting case because at least there's something physical that you can point to. I mean, the thing washed up, it's actually there and people have looked at it and tested it. That's a lot more than we got with the other three that we were talking about.
People have actually poked this thing with a stick. You can't say that about Bigfoot.
No, exactly. And you can't say that about Nessie, Patty, Nessie, Fairy, any of the rest of them.
I poked a fairy with a stick. Don't quit dismissing fairies, man.
I would go around with like my cigarette lighter and just try and light those little bastards on fire. It's like, hey, you're a fairy, huh?
Yeah, have you ever seen those tennis racket kind of things, but it's like a bug zapper?
Oh, yeah.
You just suckers around. You can zap so many fairies.
That's a good call. Yeah, you ever seen the videos of the guys that put their tongue on it?
Oh, man, I slap my enemies with those.
But yeah, that's a fairy killer right there.
That's a fairy killer and the person who pisses me off killer.
Yeah. But I would like to. I think the Plum Island thing is there's probably some sort of a research going on over there. It's kind of odd why they just throwing these things in the river or in the ocean and they wash up somewhere else. I would probably dispose of it a little better so that it doesn't wash up.
They're slacking.
They're slacking?
They're slacking. I'm just gonna say they're not scholars working over there. I'm just, they're just dumping the bodies wherever. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, that's some interesting. I think we have some interesting cases there. I don't know. Out of the four of those, I would say Plum Island probably has the most convincing because, again, it's something that's physical, and Jesse Ventura had it on his show, so that must mean it's true. I remember he did one show about time travel. It was hilarious. He had a photograph of taken during the Civil War. And he has a guy he's standing there with, and Jesse Ventura, he's talking like this or everything, and he holds up this picture and to this guy he's standing with, and he's like, I know that's you in Gettysburg, And the guy's looking at him like, what? Me, huh? But he cracked that case. Jesse cracked the case. That's you in Gettysburg.
Crack that case wide open.
And I guess the guy was supposed to break down and go, yes, sir. Yes, Governor. Yes, the body. That's me in Gettysburg. But I do know that he did one on Plum Island because I remember seeing it, and I'm sure he twisted it into a major government conspiracy. And, you know, maybe the government is, like I say, is testing things there. Who knows? I know I don't. Do you, Zach?
I don't know. It could be where Donald Trump was made. No, I'm just joking, everyone. No, but I think I'm agreeing with you. Out of all the ones that we did, I think that Plum Island would probably be the most likely one.
Yep. So that's our opinion. By God, Plum Island. But
Case call.
yeah, that's the case, cracker.
Case cracker.
So we got some mythic creatures covered today. Some fascinating and really fucking off the wall shit. Some weird stories. I don't believe a one of them, but no, it's something interesting to talk about. Well, man, Zach, this time just flew by, didn't it?
Time flies when you're talking about fairies.
I know. And I could say more on that, but I'm not going to. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to thank the audience for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And next week, we'll have another fascinating show, and probably no fairies, so don't be too disappointed. We're not going to be broadcasting from West Hollywood next time.
God damn it.
But so anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the program. I enjoyed seeing you guys yet again another week. And next week, I'll see you again with even more interesting stuff. So from me and Zach Myers, I'd like to say, everybody, have a good day and take care of yourselves.
Bye, everyone.